I ain't seen no boxing since this quarantine done started. Hey, Doris. Craig called. You tell him I need my $5. Tell him I ain't here though, but he can drop it off. Shit, Doris, I changed about 3-4 carburetors down there at the shop today. Goddamn hands hurt. Whoa! Nectar of the gods. I got me some of them Rhodes Golds. They Rhodes. Ha! Jake, baby, bring me some of that iced tea in the back. Now I don't want that done that Jasmine. Just give me some of the Liptons. Oh, here we go now. Here we go. Cheers, ladies. Let's get it on. What in the... It's over. The girl didn't have her hands up or nothing. What shit kind of boxing is this?
What's up, people? Welcome back to the BCMA podcast. It's your boy Lucky from Lucky's Muay Thai. This is episode 12. Today I'm going to answer some questions, but before that, let's talk a little bit about matchmaking. Clearly that fight from Dazen, as Grandpa Lucky might say, was not made well. Before we do that, if you like the show, please hit that subscribe button, like it, share it, spread it amongst your friends. Don't do that without a mask though. Obviously in this case, in the DAZN fights where Seniesa Estrada knocked out Miranda Atkins in 7 seconds, there was a mismatch. Now, Seniesa had 18 fights with 7 KOs, and Miranda had 5 fights with 5 KOs. There was definitely a big learning curve there for Miranda to try to get over. And I'm not sure why that was made that way. I think people are trying to fill out cards. And I don't, God, for the life of me, I can't understand it. But if you're Miranda Atkins and they come to you and they offer you some dough during this time of Corona to fight on a big stage with 5 fights and an opportunity to get your name out there and perhaps make some more dough. And what the hell, if you go out there and you put on a good show, I mean, who knows what happens after that, especially in women's boxing and especially during this time where there's not a lot of money to be made and a lot of fights to happen. So from her point of view, I didn't hear any interviews from her or anything like that. I mean, the fight, obviously 7 seconds, she got a chance to show nothing. I hope it was worth it. That's all I can say. I hope that, she got taken care of. She made a big sack of money. She's going to use that to, perpetuate her career, invest in some whatever, and that she'll be back ready to go in the future. For Seniesa, I mean, what do you expect her to do? I mean, I don't know. Again, she's in that same situation where there's not a lot of money around. There's not fights to be had. Her manager, I'm assuming, said, yo, we got you a fight. DAZN's got, we're going to put you on TV. You're going to make some money. Maybe you can get out there and, do something big. She did something big. She knocked this woman out in 7 seconds, and there's all kinds of flack being taken for it. So look, man, this was a bad deal. It made it all look bad, but this is not new. This is not new. We've seen cans in boxing arenas, MMA, kickboxing. I've seen it. We've seen them in everything. And I'm not calling her a can, but I'm saying we've seen fights where obviously the person should not have been in there. So I'm not sure how outraged people really are because we've seen this before. Like I said, this is not new. I mean, look, the matchmaker made a fight, a crappy one for Miranda, and it sucks that they did that, and they shouldn't have. Follow the money, as they say, because clearly this had somebody's money written all over it or contractual agreement written all over it. Who knows? But in the case of most matchmakers, and even in that matchmaker's case, you got to do things to put asses in seats, and you have to do things to make the fans happy. This did not necessarily make the fans happy. But in this time of Corona, you're putting on a fight card. People are watching, clearly. And after that horrible KO, people are watching even more. And that is not necessarily a good thing, but I guarantee you, if DAZN is smart, they are going to flip this into a situation that provides them more viewership for the fights upcoming. Matchmaking's hard, man. Which fight was that? Lewis and Ngannou, right? You put two big dudes in there that are knockout artists, and I don't know, they circle for 3 rounds. I mean, what you expected to happen was them to go in there and, bang, but it didn't happen. And then you see the same thing with wrestlers, man. You see guys get in there and, they're wrestling and grappling, negates each other. And, it's just the way it is. Now, the thing is, there are so many fights, and fights are starting to pick up. Like before all the corona happened and all this, there were tons of fights. And the amount of fights that were happening all over, definitely you were going to have some duds and some bad matchmaking, or the fights just didn't turn out right. Now, there are plenty of reasons for that. Plenty of reasons. The problem is the fans are always going to be fickle. They're never going to be happy with the outcome of whatever fights that happen. If you're old and you get beat, by a young up and comer, they're like, oh, well, he's an old guy. If the old guy beats the young up and comer, they say the young up and comer wasn't ready yet. He's not experienced enough. Somebody goes in there that's highly ranked or whatever. You see they have a small ankle injury or hand injury. They lose the fight. Oh, it's because they were injured. They had a hand injury. Just coming back from a hand injury. They couldn't throw the hand properly. There's just a ton of stuff. Oh, they're too much hype. If they lose, they're too much hype. They don't train hard enough. I mean, there's just a ton of things that the fans will say all the time that they really don't have any idea about. They will tell you should switch camps. Even though prior to maybe 2 losses, you had 15 wins with the same camp. I mean, people do need, changes of scenery and that thing, but fans, I think, often don't have a real idea of what kind of mental effort it requires to be a fighter and, how comfortable you have to be with a coach. I mean, it's like a real deal to be comfortable with people that are going to have your life in their hands. So, and it goes the other way too, man. Fighters always, I don't want to talk about my injury. No excuses. That guy was better, right? You hear that. I had a horrible weight cut, personal issues. I wasn't focused. I came out. I didn't want to be there. I prepared for a grappler and he was a striker. I mean, they were doing things that kept me from doing things. And then I didn't do things I normally do. There's lots of reasons, but ultimately, what does this mean about matchmaking? I don't know. I know that all of these things from the fans, from the fighters, these statements and comments before and after the fights, they make for the drama, at least on the outside. Also, the statements the promoters make, which we'll have to just get into that another time because promoters are wild. That's a whole different show. But these statements, they add to the drama, right? And then what happens inside the ring, the cage, whatever, that's the beauty of it all. So you can talk smack before, fans can talk smack before. Things are going to happen inside the fight that are going to be either amazing or horrible or somewhere in between, or you're just going to get a beautiful fight. And ultimately, all of those things is what keep the machine moving, right? You want to see fights? Then you need the bad fighters too, right? You need the guys to go out there and just swing for the hills and swing for the fences and miss everything. And every now and then they connect and get a knockout, right? Bob Sapp made a freaking career now out of losing fights in Japan. I mean, ultimately, people want a character. They want something. They need some action, some ups, some downs. They feed into the drama. When I go on MMA Twitter, some of the funniest things I read are just things that I know to not be true about fighting, or listening to people or reading things that people write that are just, outlandish. They have no clue, but they enjoy the fighting. So matchmaker's job is tough. Ultimately, he can only put the names on the paper, and then whatever happens happens, right? Let's go back to that original fight, right? So what if Miranda walks out and knocks out Sinisa in 7 seconds? What then? Is she the new phenom? Does Sinisa go, oh, it was a fluke, we got to run it back? I mean, clearly. So, matchmaking is tough. It's tough. I would just say enjoy the freaking fights when you get them. There's always going to be some duds. But what we're noticing, at least in MMA, is that the amount of fighters that are higher level because of the growth of MMA is catching up with the amount of fights that are being put on. So the amount of duds that you would see or would have seen normally is not the same as it used to be, right? You're getting less duds of fights and more good fights. So, as far as matchmaking goes, man, I have no idea. All I know is I hear that, politics are always involved. That's why you can be an unranked fighter and move all the way up the rankings because you win a couple of fights and surpass people that have been, 8, 9 fights in a row winning. And that you can be an amazing, amazing fighter, maybe on some crazy win streak. But if you can't put asses in seats, you're going to have a problem getting booked, because promoters not only want a person that's undefeated, they want a person that's undefeated with a story that people want to come and pay for a ticket for or buy a pay-per-view. If you don't tell your story, it's tough. If your wins are mostly grappling wins, even if they're not like, I think the thing that people love about grappling wins are they're either very brutal, the brutal ones. They really like that, right? They like when you're somebody's got your back, they got the person's back, they're grounded, they're hitting them fucking around the corner, they're working on chokes, they got a nasty choke and the person goes to sleep, or they want to see some action in the grappling. They very rare, this is say what, lay and pray, right? Lay and pray. Listen, winning a fight, I guess, is winning a fight. But if you're expecting the promoter to push you with that consistently on your resume, you're just going to have a hard time. Now, if you're a striker and you're a kickboxer and a Muay Thai fighter and you are winning fights consistently on points, people sometimes are going to look at that and be like, man, this isn't, he wins, but it's not that exciting. Nobody's getting knocked out. I'm not seeing a lot of damage. I've seen a guy move, not get hit, but he's not exciting. He's not hurting the other guy really. Promoters look at that, man. And company owners look at that, because that kind of stuff doesn't necessarily turn fans away, but it doesn't turn fans on. And the fight business, trust me when I say this, they want it to be a sexy business, and there's nothing sexy about consistently not finishing or not putting on a show, right? Lay and pray is different than holding somebody down and beating them up till they give up or they give up the submission. Yeah, it's a little bit different. Promoters are trying their best, but you never know what's going to happen when they get in there, man. You never know. Anyway, I only said that to say this. Enjoy the fights. Promoters' jobs are tough, and some of them are good at it. Some of them are bad at it. Fights sometimes are going to be duds. Fights are going to be surprising sometimes. Fights are going to be beautiful. Fights are going to suck. But at least we're getting fights. And me personally, I enjoy all of it. I like it when a guy can't get hit. Right? I like it when a guy takes a dude down, the dude can't get up. I don't mind any of that. I want to see you get off the floor. Get up, man. Get up and fight. Don't complain. Get up and fight. Right? Ultimately, that's how it is. So, and if you have an idea of what you think about matchmaking and where you think it is in fighting, or what if you have a question about it, drop me a line. Let me know what you think, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Do people have questions for me? Let's see.
It's time for just answer the questions, man. Damn.
All right, let's answer some questions. Let's see here. Dr. Will Adams writes, what's better for a street fight? BJJ or Muay Thai? This is the age-old question that's been answered over and over and over. And I don't know if I'm going to answer it the same way. Here's the best thing for a street fight. Escape. Street fights are violent. They're super fucking dangerous. Now, if you're talking self-defense, it depends on you. Who are you? Right? Who are you? Where are you? Is there more than one person? Do you have more than one person? There are so many factors and variables that it really, really depends on who you are. Do I want to be on my back in a street fight? Nah. What if he's got friends and one of them runs up and kicks me? What if he's got a girlfriend? She got on high heel shoes. She starts trying to stomp my head. Nah, I'm good on that. Try to stay on your feet if you can. Get away. Know yourself. I've seen big giant dudes grab dudes and just slam them on their head. I don't know, man. I think the best thing is to know who you are. If you know how to strike, excellent. Do whatever you have to do and get the fuck away from there. You don't need to be street fighting, right? Listen, you crack a dude, his head hits the concrete, he dies. If it wasn't really self-defense, it was just some argument, BS, guess who goes to jail? If that same dude hits you and you crack your head, that dude goes to jail, but where are you? Your head bounces off that concrete once, twice. You're a different person, man. So if you ask me what your best thing is for a street fight, BJJ or Muay Thai, it's whatever tool you have that's going to get you home safe. So in street fight, no rules, man. You got to get home. Stomp, kick, elbow, knee, choke, bite, scratch, pick up something, hit them, run, whatever. Get home to your family. That's the best you can do for, that's the best thing for a street fight, Muay Thai or BJJ. Get home safe. Let's see here. At Crew Dave Muay Thai writes, what do fans love or hate about Muay Thai? And what can we learn more from MMA? I don't really know what fans hate about Muay Thai. See the thing and that kind of stuff. What's funny is I don't think they see enough of it. I think the fans that watch Muay Thai love Muay Thai. What can we learn from MMA? This is so easy. Tell the stories. You know that the big boom for MMA was right after The Ultimate Fighter when you had Stephan Bonnar and Forrest Griffin had that huge fight, but the storyline leading up to that was fantastic. And then after that, and that drew everybody into a thing that was already going, but it needed that kick in the ass. Now we've had Contender, Muay Thai, we've had the reality series, which I've spoken about before, Fight Girls, and there's people that have come from those. Obviously they're big name people, but as far as the US goes, we need big names with stories, with backgrounds being told to us in a way that we can appreciate it, because we're not getting any of that. I mean, I can tell you backgrounds of guys in the UFC, Bellator, almost all day, because man, Bellator doesn't do as great a job as UFC does, but they tell their stories. They come from here. They trained here. They went through this. They fought these people to get to this point. Like if you're new coming in and you see a lead up to a fight, you're going to get a chance to see and even interview by the media, these fighters and their storyline and where they came from. And I think in Muay Thai and kickboxing, man, unless you're hunting for it, you're not going to find it. So if you ask me what we could learn from MMA, we could learn that we need to do a better job of telling the stories, talking about the lives, what it takes, the ups, the downs, all those things. So we really need somebody's organization to come out and tell the stories to a U.S. audience in a way that they'll appreciate it. And that's what I think about that. All right. Eric Perez writes, why should you take up martial arts? Okay. All the obvious answers are exercise, discipline, self-defense. I think all of those things are the correct answers, right? Learning confidence in yourself. There's just a ton of those answers that are all sort of cliche, if you will, but they are also all true. I would only add that if you get a good teacher and you're serious about martial arts in a way that you're sparring, even if it's, fully protected, kick sparring, all that kind of stuff, you start to learn some things about yourself, that you might not have learned otherwise. So, and if you get the right teacher, you're going to have a hard time with lying to yourself about either how good you are or how good you're not, and not just in your skills, but as a human being, right? Because you're required to interact with other people, and you're also required to have some humility. And if you don't have it, martial arts has a funny way of teaching it to you. Either through somebody in the gym or some situation that happens, but ultimately, you should take up martial arts because it's transformational. Something should change in you at some point. That's my belief. All right. My boy, Amir Malik at Amalik11 asks, do you still want to do acting? The simple answer is yeah, of course. The long answer is, man, it would have to be something I really loved, something I was, asked to do, or that I couldn't pass it up. And that's not like a money thing. It's just, going to do a sort of an extra in a commercial thing right now is not something I could really do. But if I had an opportunity to have even if a small role, I would love to do it. So yeah, hell yeah, all day, any day. Send me a script. All right. Eric Faden writes, what was your favorite technique when you were fighting? And it was catching the round kick and a straight cross. I find if you time it just right as you're catching the kick, you throwing the cross catches them in a really weird sort of spot. There isn't any real balance, like right there. And a lot of times they just end up on their back. Now, doesn't mean that you always, landed this super clean shot on the chin, but a lot of times it landed solid enough that they've landed, flat on their back. And it really is gives a good visual for the judges to see nonetheless, right? So they may not even call it. I've been in fights where I've thrown it, knocked the dude down. They didn't even call it a knockdown, even though I clearly had the leg and landed it, but it looks really good for the judges either way. So, that was my favorite. And he also added, what should you be doing at home for, Muay Thai, to practice and to get better? Simple things that you can do at home are stretch a lot, shadow box, and it doesn't mean just throw punches, right? You can spend some time just doing footwork, defensive shadow boxing. You can work with hand weights, right? You can hang even a tennis ball from the ceiling, right? And work on your head movement, that kind of thing. There's a lot of really simple things that you can do that don't require a lot at home that will make you better, right? So if you have a mirror, you can shadow box in front of that. All of that works well. But I would definitely say stretching and working on your footwork and base, because the one thing I've seen more than anything is people moving their feet in ways that aren't conducive to striking or defending, and putting their feet in bad places that could lead to a sweep or a takedown in MMA, things like that. So working on your base is always, it's always from the ground up, right? So that's what I think. I really appreciate everybody's questions. Thank you all so much for writing in. Again, if you like the show, please hit that subscribe button. I think it's over there, or over wherever it is. Hit it. Drop me a DM. Share this, please. And I'm looking forward to next week. I'm not sure what I'm going to do just yet, but it's been fun so far. So I hope you're enjoying it. And don't forget, if you want to check out the gym, hit us up, luckysmt.com. We are doing small classes. We're going to add some more hours coming up this next month. So get ready for that. And I love y'all. Peace.
Don't want a complication.